Sorry I haven't been on here much, and sorry about my hair. Forgive the hair. Been working over 40 hours at a wire and cable company in the warehousing, I wouldn't say manufacturing part of it, but spooling long, thick cable like this, or wire, uncoated wire, through machines over 40 hours a week. And the machines run so fast, I wound up actually breaking a finger, but since I just started there a few weeks ago, I can't say anything. But thankfully this is over a week and a half ago, so it was even over a week and a half ago. No, it wasn't. And after the second, third day, you just untape it, and the pain is just dull. When I get in the gloves, I tape it, but anyways, that's why I've been gone so long. Just drop to sleep as soon as I get home. Generalissimo Francisco Franco. I see this brought up against the Roman Catholics, right? Franco. You have the Crusades, which we weren't a part of. You have the Inquisition, which we never had any Inquisitions. And you have the Spanish Civil War. For the Crusades and the Inquisition, I would turn people's attention to the Real Crusade channel, or Real Crusade History, which is on YouTube. It's just one guy, and he does a very thorough job. And he's objective, or as much as one can be, in his retelling of it. He remains objective, but you know what side he's on. He's not. He is biased, but when conveying it, he uses sources and isn't. He doesn't let himself get caught up in his own emotions. You can tell. Well, not that you can tell. It's just he uses primary sources. As for the Inquisition, I would turn people to the BBC special on the Spanish Inquisition. That it was a lie formed by the English government, pretty much. There were inquisitors, there was an Inquisition, but of what comes to mind of the Spanish Inquisition is not the merciful courts that Europe would not see for another 300 years. It's, this almost like 1984 police state. And they go through it. I think Real Crusades history, or Real Crusades history touches on it a little bit. But finally, Generalissimo Francisco Franco in the Spanish Civil War. The Spanish Civil War was one of the most heavily anti-clerical times. The Catholics, if you were a Catholic, you were dead. You were caught by the Republicans. It didn't matter if they were anarchists, if they were Bolshevik communists, if they were Freemasons. If you were caught by the Republicans, you were dead. If you had if they even had a hint that you were religious at all, had any crosses, anything, and you didn't actively blaspheme Christ and the Church, kind of like pre-Constantine, Roman Empire under, pick one, Nero, Diocletian, Maxentius, Licentius, Domitian, Vespasian, any of them, Trajan. So nobody knew Franco was going to turn out to be like that. You had the Falange de Seda, you had the Carlists. It was only later on, when he consolidated his victory, that he took over the mantle from, I believe it was Jose Antonio Primo, who was the head of the fascist party of Spain. But you had things like the Seda, which were autonomous Christian groups that just didn't want to be annihilated. I think the only Republicans that didn't execute people for their faith was in the Basque country, and the Basques were largely I mean, well, they were split between who supported Franco and who didn't, but they were, I mean, even if you look at the boundaries of where you had the Republicans and the rebels in this case were Franco and the traditionalists, they were segregated from the rest of Republican Spain. And with Republican Spain, the oppression was twofold. It was institutionalized and it was popularist. You had uprisings of, I think, 16 churches were burnt in one night, and by mobs, and the police looked the other way. You know? So him calling in Hitler did a lot more than Franco asked him to. And the joint efforts against the Republicans, those people who fought didn't know what Franco would become later on, that he would become lifelong dictator, right? And Franco, during the war, was, even after the war, when he had to do the cleansing of, who is communist here. Again, you have to, it's not quite, think of the Islamists and the idea of taqiyya, how they could, under taqiyya, under their weird view of how they view the world, they could actually be baptized and be a Christian, an Islamist, and lay dormant until the time is right. The same thing with the communists, that's how they worked. Even in religious places, they would say, oh yeah, no, you can keep that or whatever. But if you didn't go along with the party when it rejected any religious beliefs, when they finally got control, and then okay, now we have the power to suppress religion, you were dead. If you didn't toe the party line, I mean, as bad as Trotsky was, he went against Stalin, he went against the party, boom, dead. I think they got him in Mexico. Right after he was fooling around with Frida Kahlo. But yeah, you have to place yourself in those people's position. And as for Franco, he's not the monster that people make him out to be. And only the Falange were fascists, and even Franco, he perverted that. Even the fascists didn't. Because remember, fascism is a step beyond Marxism. It's saying, okay, look, we can't destroy all eternal truths. We can't destroy everything about civilization. Let's keep our culture and our identity, and let's not have anything to do with, let's not let these foreign influences come in. Which I think that's a good part of it, but that's the only place I would agree with the fascists. As for their Marxist and socialist views, because to be a fascist you have to be a socialist, you have to be left-wing and economically, and I see that as brutal, I see that as brutality, and I'm against that. So the fascists, for me, always, you cut them open and they're red. Yeah, they still say comrade, they still talk about the proletariat, the struggle, the revolution. And they always slow down every movement. I mean, look at how many incarnations of the IRA now there has been, and every time it's been the Marxist faction that slows it down. They slow down actual revolutions that should take place, and they try to import foreign revolutions into peaceful places that don't need them and don't want them. That's foreign too. Alright, peace to you. May God save Serbia, Syria, and Ireland, and I've got to go in an 8.5, no, actually today it's 9.5 hours of heavy manual labor. Peace to you. And please pray for Jackson.